Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us right here on The Right View. We are so excited tonight because we are joined by the Congresswoman from the 14th District of the great state of Georgia, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. Welcome to The Right View. I know you've got nothing going on, nothing on your plate. You literally just ran in here probably from some vote. We had the State of the Union. You were very prominent in that. I'm sure you've gotten a lot of messages over the course of the day or so. But let me just start by getting your initial reaction to the State of the Union as delivered by Joe Biden.
Well, I have to tell you, it was the most frustrating thing to listen to Joe Biden talk like he was some sort of populist or America First president when all of us know that's the exact opposite. He basically stood up there in the people's house and lied to the American people, lying about the economy, lying about jobs, lying about the border. And then, just like the coward he is, and he's basically owned by China, he refused to apologize to the American people for allowing the Chinese spy balloon to traverse the entire United States and spy on our military bases, our cities, our food factories, our interstates, before actually shooting it down after it left the country. So it was so frustrating. I think it's humiliating for our country to have a president stand in the people's house and lie to the American people like that. And that's why I just couldn't contain myself and had to call him exactly what he is, a liar.
Yeah. Well, we all saw that. I mean, I think everyone was watching, but he not only did he, disrespect Americans by just lying to our faces about a whole host of things. One of the things that I saw Republicans getting very upset about, and I think this is one of the times when you were screaming out liar, was whenever he was trying to suggest that Republicans wanted to end Social Security and Medicare. I mean, what was, and I assume the goal of that is you put it out there and before anyone has a chance to refute it, it's going to stick. And then people will believe that that is something that Republicans want. What was your take on that? Why would he lie so blatantly about that?
Well, he's been lying about it. And that's why I was extra angry. And he's targeted me specifically by name and used my picture. The Democrat Party has. They've used my picture and told that lie over and over again, saying that Republicans want to cut Social Security and Medicare when absolutely we do not. We have not had one single meeting in our GOP conference in the House talking about cutting Social Security and Medicare. We haven't talked about that at all. We've been talking about many other places that we need to find spending cuts, and all we've talked about is that we need the president of the United States to work with us on that, because under his administration and Democrat-controlled government, they have spent $7 trillion in the past 2 years. That's the most amount of money spent in a 2-year time in American history, and our inflation has skyrocketed because of it. And here we have interest rates going up, but yet we're the ones that are being blamed for talking about cutting Social Security and Medicare. It's a complete lie. And, I wasn't the only one actually calling him out. Many of my colleagues were calling him a liar as well. I think I just was maybe the loudest, and that's what got the attention.
Well, you did draw some attention prior to the State of the Union, because I saw that you were carrying around a white balloon, suggesting that it was the Chinese spy balloon. Did they not let you take that in the chamber there?
Well, unlike Nancy Pelosi, who tore up President Trump's speech behind his back, I wasn't going to pull any gimmicks when the president was at the Capitol and when security.
That's very nice of you, by the way.
Well, thank you. And, I do think balloons could be considered dangerous. And I didn't want to pose any threat in any way, or at least make it look like that. But the Chinese spy balloon, I did carry a big white balloon with me to Media Row, which was in the Cannon office building, which is where my office is, earlier in the day, into all of my interviews, because it's important for the press here in Washington, D.C., Laura, and I know you'll understand this. The press here in Washington, D.C. does not understand the American people, and they needed to see a good visual reminder of what Americans are really upset about, and that's that Chinese spy balloon.
Well, and I think you're right. I think people were very upset about it. And I'm curious to get your take, because you are now on the House Homeland Security and Oversight Committees. Look, from my perspective, and I am just a complete civilian, that was a message from China. It was to show that China now has a better footing on the world stage, more so than we ever dreamed they would get. It was a test of sorts. And then I assume they probably gathered whatever intelligence they possibly could as it traversed the entire country before any measures were taken to get rid of it. Why do you think they sent something that was so obvious, Congresswoman? Because in my estimation, you would only do something like that if you wanted people to see it and you wanted to send a message.
I completely agree with you, Laura. You're 1,000% right. I think China did that the week before the State of the Union on purpose to make President Joe Biden look incompetent, to make him look weak, and also to test him. Before the week before the State of the Union, Joe Biden was tested and he failed the test. But not only Joe Biden, let's go a step further. So did the Pentagon, so did the Department of Defense. They also failed the test, because they didn't work very hard to get Joe Biden to shoot that balloon down before it entered our airspace. And they knew about that balloon on January 28th. That was before it even entered the United States airspace, before it entered Alaska. And they did nothing about it when they could have shot it down over the Pacific Ocean. But here's what's so concerning to me, and this is what I hear people at home and everywhere talking about, is they had no idea what that spy balloon contained. It could have contained a bioweapon. It could have delivered an EMP attack, a nuclear bomb, or it could have delivered hypersonic missiles, just like the video that they showed the Chinese people in 2018 of a big white spy balloon, or a big white balloon delivering hypersonic missiles. But our country did not act. And so once again, just like when we withdrew out of Afghanistan and we failed miserably there on the world stage, we failed again a very serious test just last week before the State of the Union.
Yeah, I mean, it's so embarrassing, I think, on every level. And Americans feel it. And by the way, who's to say that somebody won't try another one, and something, by the way, maybe a little more stealthy, that is not so obvious to the naked eye, that could contain some of the things that you're saying? It's incredibly frightening. And let's face it, if any of our adversaries wanted to mess with America, they know the time is now, because we are weak. We are, in such a bad position on the world stage. We have a fully open southern border. They know that Joe Biden is not going to take any action, it doesn't appear, against anyone at this point. And so I think it's really frightened a lot of people to have had this happen right here over American soil. And, who's to say that the next time it won't be something really, really scary. I do want to ask you about your position on the committees I mentioned, the House Homeland Security and Oversight Committees. I feel like there's a lot that you guys are going to be working on. Is there anything that you can talk about that you're going to be focusing on?
Oh, yeah, we have a lot to cover. Today on the Oversight Committee, we had a hearing where we interviewed former Twitter executives. These are the people that were in charge of permanently banning people like your father-in-law, President Trump. People like me, they permanently banned me for a year during 2022. And just conservative Americans, countless numbers of conservative Americans all over the country that were tweeting about all kinds of topics, everything from COVID shutdowns to ivermectin, to how parents feel about schools teaching gender indoctrination, biological males and women's sports, and how they feel about elections. In 2016 on Twitter, you could say Hillary won, but in 2020 on Twitter, you could not say Trump won without being permanently banned.
Wow.
So we had that hearing today, and I got 5 minutes to address those former Twitter executives. And I started that 5 minutes by telling them that their speech was canceled during my 5 minutes, because I wasn't going to let them talk. I was going to let them know exactly how we all feel. And that's what I did today. So that was a big deal. Homeland, coming up, we're going to be having a lot of hearings on the border, and we are going to address Secretary Mayorkas for his failure, absolute failure, and protecting our country and securing our border. And we are going to work very hard to impeach Secretary Mayorkas. People can see that coming up out of this Congress under Republican majority.
Well, thank goodness. And what a dereliction of duty. I mean, what a complete and total failure on everything at the southern border. And that is also frightening. We don't know who's coming into the United States through the southern border, 160 countries just being allowed to pour in here. How many people on the terrorist watch list have been caught thus far? And just the fentanyl alone that is killing 100,000 Americans every single year, and our youth in America at just a historic rate. I mean, my goodness, I'm so glad that you guys are going to be addressing that. Unfortunately, it's probably 2 years too late, and we see the millions who have already come here. But I'm really glad to know that you guys are going to focus on that, because I think it is also something that Americans are very upset about. You know, and just thinking about what you were talking about with Twitter, it's so funny because I know there's almost nothing to be done about it, but you can appreciate this Congresswoman as much as I do. When you put someone's name in a search, like before our interview, I just said, let me just get a little more information about you, and so we could have some great conversation. The first thing that pops up, as you well know, is Wikipedia. And the Wikipedia of anyone who has an R behind our names is absolutely disgraceful and disgusting. I'm sure you know what they write about you. If you want to get a good chuckle, go ahead and check mine out. Anyone with our last name. I mean, but the sad thing is, it is all on purpose, and there's almost nothing that can be done, because their goal is to just damage our reputation so much that we have no bearing on anything, and people just write us off, right? Does it frustrate you as much as it does me?
Oh, yeah, it's unbelievable. As a matter of fact, I have a member of my staff laughing in the background because he has worked very hard to try to correct the lies on Wikipedia about me.
I tried for years. They don't care. They will never fix them.
Nope, they get to say whatever they want, and they get to be the experts of information on Wikipedia. But you're right. If you have an R beside your name, like you do, like I do, like many of us, Wikipedia will say the most atrocious lies about you, and a lot of Americans don't know, and that's the first search result that they find.
It's really upsetting. I mean, I don't know what could be done about it other than me just getting really irritated on this show, but I'll go for it, because it's upsetting, because people then make assumptions about you, and it's based on lies, and it's very upsetting. But I want to know a little bit, but before we let you go, I know you have so much happening right now, about you before you became a congresswoman, because I read that you did something that I do almost every day, which is CrossFit. You even had your own CrossFit gym. Is this right?
Yeah, I did. I owned a CrossFit gym called CrossFit Passion in Alpharetta, Georgia. One of the most fun things, a little small business, just because CrossFit was my passion. I really enjoyed it, not only for working out, but also coaching people and teaching people how to be in the best shape of their life. And clearly you are. You look amazing, Laura. And I even competed in the sport of CrossFit.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, in 2015, I was actually 47th in the world. So it was a lot of fun. But so that was great. And I own a construction company. It was the family construction company that I grew up in. And then the best part of my life is I'm a mom of 3 fantastic kids. So that I was just a normal person before I ever decided to run for Congress. I don't know what I was thinking.
Well, I was going to say,
I am.
Yeah, I mean, like, you have obviously made such a name for yourself in a relatively short period of time. And I think it's because you were unapologetic in what you believe, and you are willing to stand up for what you believe in and say it passionately. And, you're not afraid. And I think that it has really gotten you a lot of attention, and some good, some not good. Believe me, we know all about that. But what made you say, I have this great life, I'm a business owner and all of these things. Let me just throw my hat in the ring and get involved in the swamp in DC, because it's tough.
It is tough. Well, I'll be real honest. It was in the Republican controlled majority in the first 2 years under our great president, your father-in-law, President Trump, that there were things that didn't get done. And I know President Trump was sitting at his desk with pen in hand, ready to sign those things. They didn't repeal Obamacare. That made my family's health insurance go from $800 a month to over $2,400 a month. They did not defund Planned Parenthood. And I know President Trump would have loved to sign that bill. They also did not build the wall. They didn't fund and build the wall. And that was a Republican-controlled Congress. And it was when I saw that happen, and then when Nancy Pelosi became Speaker of the House in 2019, and I'll tell you, it was those Republican failures in Congress that led to that happening. I decided, you know what, regular people like me, and there's just countless numbers of us, we get the job done every single day in our private lives. We're successful. We pay our bills. We do the right things. I just decided, you know what, I'll give this a try and I'll run for Congress. And so here I am. And I tell you what, here, you'll relate to this. CrossFit makes you tough. If you can suffer through those workouts, then you can stick it out in a fight with Democrats any day of the week.
Wow. Well, you were very well prepared. Obviously, I imagine you don't have a whole lot of time for CrossFit. Do you still work out these days?
I do, just not like I used to. I used to train for hours, but now I squeeze in about an hour, and I still do CrossFit workouts or CrossFit type workouts. I like weightlifting a lot. I like the Olympic lifts. So I try to get it done. Usually it's very early in the morning though.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, all the moms out there can appreciate that. If you don't do it before the kids wake up, it almost is never going to get done. Well, then now that I know this, obviously we're going to have to work out at some point. And I'll wake up early for you. I would love to. So hopefully
that would be great. Yeah, we'll have to do it
the next time I see you. Before I let you go, I considered running for Senate in my home state of North Carolina, and I decided against it just based on the age of my kids and how tough I thought it would be on them. And I truly didn't feel I could be the mom to them that they deserved and still be the type of senator that I would feel like I needed to be for North Carolina. But how has it been for your family since you got in Congress and you've obviously there's been a lot of attention on you. Has it been tough for them? I'm sure they're proud of you. How's this been?
Well, it's tough, and you know that firsthand by being in the Trump family.
Yeah.
And I want to commend you. You made a great decision. Being a mom is the number one job there is, especially when your kids are young. I would never have run for Congress or done this job if my children were younger, but they're 25, 23, and 19. So I felt like I was able to do it. I'm in a season of life where this is something I can put my time into. And I'm very grateful to my children. They have tolerated a lot. But they are my number one supporters. Aww. And so I have a great relationship with my kids, and I'm very proud to be their mom, and they are my why. Everyone needs to have a why. My children are my why, and I just want them to have the best future possible.
Well, I'm sure they're very proud of all you've done and all you will continue to do. There's obviously a lot of work to be done, as we referenced at the top there, and good luck with everything. I mean, I think people are very much looking forward to what this Republican-controlled House now will do going forward, and it's hopefully going to be some really good stuff. And then, God willing, 2024, let's take back the White House, and while we're at it, maybe the Senate as well, because quite frankly, I don't think we can endure any more of what we've had the past 2 years. I don't know how we'll make it through the next two, but you guys give us hope. So good luck with everything. And thank you for joining us on The Right View. And the next time we'll get set up in a gym and you and I'll rep out some pull-ups and push-ups or something.
That would be so much fun. I would love it. Let's definitely do it. And thank you for having me on your show. I really enjoyed it.
You got it. To everybody at home, as always, thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here next time for more.